Hey everyone, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here with another recap. We have episode 2 of Grant's season.
Of The Bachelor.
Of The Bachelor, yes. This is The Bachelor. This is a Bachelor podcast where we recap every episode.
Every episode. And later on this week, we are excited to talk to Zoe. She is our guest this week, and we're going to be asking her all about the beginning of what seems to be a lot of drama to come in the house.
Yeah, she seems like the one that's causing some commotion in the house. I couldn't think of the
You really
word.
fought to not say shit.
Yeah, I was going to say shit stirrer, but I'm like, it's just such a crude saying. But she seems to be the one that like either is definitely ruffling some feathers. So you stop. Okay, I'm going to stick with that. Yeah, she's ruffling some feathers. So we usually don't get those people on the podcast right away. So I'm actually looking forward to talking to her. It is one of those things like watching it back. I'm kind of like, all right, like don't you girls like watch the show before you go on it, because Zoe and then the girl, the New Jersey boxer, Allie Joe, like I feel like this isn't going to work out for either of you if you keep this up, and you're already starting. So like this is just a mistake.
Yeah, it's just two archetypes that we've seen again and again and again. Yeah. And we'll get into it when we get to the group date.
Yeah, let's start off the episode, shall we?
We shall. So episode 2 starts with the first group date of the season. And on this group date, it is a basketball date. We have Natalie, Beverly, Zoe, Parisa, and Chloe on the purple team. Yep. And then Juliana, Allie Joe, Vicky, Alicia, and Serafina on the yellow team. So it's kind of a standard size group date. I feel like usually at the beginning, these group dates have been massive because we've had such huge casts. So it's kind of nice. Like I actually feel like, I know we said this, I think last week, but I really prefer a 25-person cast. I could look at every girl and probably, I think I could, I'm 90% sure I could get every girl's name right. Like if you show me photos.
Yeah, I think you could too.
Maybe 95% sure.
I don't think I could.
Really?
No, not right now. I will say out of like the dates that the show repetitively does, like people are really sick at, like you hear like, oh, another helicopter. The basketball game, any sporting event is always, I find just like I almost tune out. I find it so boring.
I know. I also think though this date was inevitable because there's so much stuff of like Grant and basketball and Grant, that they were going to incorporate basketball on a date in some way. And I feel like it was like, let's just get this one out of the way.
Well, it's either basketball or football. And sometimes, like, I think the Golden Men we saw.
Let's get a new athlete in here. Let's get a rugby player.
Well, Joey was tennis.
And I liked that because it was different. Yeah. And that's not to say I don't like Grant because he plays basketball. It's just you're right. It's always a basketball date or it's a football date.
Yeah, they have to.
And honestly, most of the girls are like, I don't know how to play this.
Yeah, let's.
Like most of the girls are like, I don't play this sport, and now I'm being forced to, and someone's probably gonna get hurt, and I'm out immediately. I'm 5'2". Like, there's no chance for me on a basketball date. Like some of these girls are
tall. Yeah, you're not one of those girls.
I wouldn't be one of those girls. No. I'm out here representing the short gals who thrive close to the ground, not jumping up.
Well, Zoe's the one that actually thrived during the basketball game, but then she pulled. Was it after the basketball game or before?
It was like during warm-up / training.
Okay, yeah. So we have kids come out.
Yeah.
And Grant wants to see how the women interact with the children.
With the children.
You gonna make fun of everything I say today?
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I appreciate it. It's a form of flattery.
So the children come out and they're like, you guys are all gonna dunk or shoot or whatever the activity is. And Zoe goes second. And she's like, I'm actually just going to steal you. And not only am I going to steal you, I'm going to take you like 10 floors up away from everyone. I'm going to get you in an elevator. I couldn't believe she got him in an elevator.
Yeah.
I was like, it's one thing to take him around the corner. Like, this is minimum 20 to 30 minutes.
This is the exact same thing that Devin did with Jen. They're on a group date. It's the first group date of this fucking season, and he takes her somewhere else to go get ice cream. Zoe takes Grant somewhere else to go chat. Her whole thing is shooters are going to shoot, and I shot my shot, and that's why I'm here. I've always kind of sided with that mentality, but I guess like I'm just so like kind of sick of seeing it where I'm like, there are other people, maybe, pay attention to that. It's really early on in the season. Honestly, it's kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that move. She is still here, so it obviously worked for her in some capacity. But you have to know that doing something like that, you're putting a target on your back. You're making enemies with the girls in the house. Which is going
if
to she's comfortable with that.
Yeah, and it's going to lead to you being involved in drama, and that person never ends up with the lead.
Yeah.
Except for Jen's
Devin.
season. Yeah.
But that didn't work out.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know either, but we will chat with her more about it. The MVP of the date was Chloe. I love her. I think
you know her, right? Or you don't know her? A friend of? Oh no, that's
you're
Chloe.
thinking
I'm thinking of the
someone
girl that
else.
gets the group date rose.
But Chloe gets the MVP award. I liked it when Grant was in a huddle with the girls and was like, "Guys, I'm not looking for Michael Jordan here. Like, I'm just looking for you to have fun."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, thank God, because you're on the wrong show if you're looking for a basketball player wife.
I think there was probably there's always going to be a handful of like really like serious competitive people. Mm-hmm. And then usually the rest of them are like, yeah, no shit. Like, we're not Michael Jordan, and nor do we want to be.
You know what I liked on Joey's season is they did like a pickleball date where they made them wear those crazy outfits.
Yeah, so you see a little more of their personality.
Yeah, that you saw more of their personality. It also just made it not feel so bone dry of like it's just a tennis match or it's just a pickleball match. I feel like we need to start zesting up these
games. Yeah, I agree.
Night portion. The girls are beefing with Zoe.
Yeah, it's really, and then we see like the feud of
Allie Joe and Zoe.
Allie Joe and Zoe, which will
Allie Joe got way madder than I thought she was going to.
Yeah, and I also like I understand that the girls are upset about it. It's like if I was on the group date and one person literally takes the lead that we're all kind of just meeting and goes somewhere else, I would kind of be like, all right, you know what? Like, this is annoying. But to get like over the top mad about it is just not a good look for you. So
I think my opinion is if someone steals extra time during the day, the night portion of a group date is a fresh slate. Just because I got time with them during the day, or I got extra time, or I got the MVP, or I got, an extra 5 minutes in the hot tub, does not mean that that person needs to forego any time for the sake of the group on the night portion of the date. It is a new date. It is completely separate. So I don't think Zoe did anything wrong by taking time with him before other girls got time with him. At the end of the day, she still deserves time. It's a new portion of the day. She's not going to be like, did everyone go? Okay, now I can go. Like, I would never expect anyone to do that. I think where she crosses the line or takes a risk is when she...
The basketball game.
No, I don't actually even know what you're talking about.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Allie Joe takes him. They're having a conversation, and then Zoe interrupts. No, sorry. Allie Joe interrupts Zoe. And then Zoe interrupts Allie Joe. Yeah. It's like you have your time. If you get cut short, you're done. Bow out. Get your ass back to the couch. Get a drink. Chill. it's over. If you want to take that step to be like, I'm going to butt in again, it's like, do it, but like, you have to be prepared that you're going to push some buttons. But she actually seems prepared to push buttons.
Zoe?
Yeah, she doesn't seem like she's going to back down. She seems to be someone that accepts the consequences of what comes with her doing something that's not going to please the rest of the girls. Because she doesn't seem shocked or rattled or confused, or like she's not victimizing herself when they're upset with her.
Yeah.
She's like, you could do it too. And I wouldn't be, if you want to go for it and you want to go head to head, like I'm down. Which I kind of respect, because I feel like we see a lot of people do this and then they're like, well, I'm just trying to get my time with him. And you're like, okay, but you know you're doing something shady. Like, let's all just be straight with what's happening here. And she at least is like owning it.
Yeah, which I respect. Yeah, I agree. I mean, she's there to get Grant, and that's the only reason she's there. And I think, I don't know if I foresee in the future or the rest of this season Zoe being like this villain. I kind of feel like this may be
like the end of it for her.
Yeah, not the end of her season.
No,
just kind of like,
she's
listen,
not going to play it this way anymore.
Yeah, because she seems like smart, where I think she's going to pick up on the fact that like if I do keep doing this, I'm just going to be involved with Kelly.
Allie
Joe. Well, because she looks like Kelly from Saved by the Bell.
I know.
And I think it's going to fade. That's my prediction.
I don't think you're necessarily wrong there.
No. To make planning the perfect beach vacation, you know everybody's
free on your on track.
Log into your account or scan QR code.
Celebrate your love story with the Valentine. Be love. Shop pin
owners and the broader financial JP Morgan Chase and Company.
Give her the rose.
I like, the day portion and okay, so the group date rose goes to Natalie, who has experience working with kids. She kind of showed that off during the day portion, and she had like a meaningful but also like not too heavy of a conversation with Grant just about like kids and everything like that.
She's very sweet.
I like her.
She's
very
sweet, very likable, and I really like that Grant gave her the rose.
I think that was a good choice.
Because it was kind of like, listen, I gave a rose to the person that I saw some really great qualities in.
Yeah, she was just herself, and
yeah.
She was intentional with her time that she got. Okay, next we have the one-on-one date with Alex, who, no surprise there, because she got the first impression rose, which meant she also got the first one-on-one date of the season.
Yeah, they shut down a mall. Every child's...
It's my dream.
Yeah, especially if you're like a kid from the 90s. Like, malls were like...
the coolest place ever.
Yeah, there was like nothing better than a mall.
When I was little, I was like, if my parents were billionaires, I would be like, for my birthday, all I want is for you to shut down a mall and keep all the stores open so I can like go try on the clothes and play with the makeup and like sleep in the furniture store. Like that was my dream.
There was a movie when I was a kid growing up that I was obsessed with called Blank Check. And he's like a 12-year-old, not even, he's probably like 10. And he gets a blank check, and he puts like $1 million in it, and he just goes and like to the mall. And it's like, I'm like, this is the best. Like,
$1 million.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it was. He got hit by a car, and the guy's like basically like this like half-ass gangster type of guy.
Okay.
And he's like, here you go, kid, and gives him a blank check. And doesn't like realize what he did, and then like the kid's like, I'm gonna spend all your money, and he goes wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me that was a movie that you loved.
But what do we think? What do we think about Alex? I don't think we got to break down the entire date, but like, do we think they're into each other? Do we think this date? I feel like she said she felt awkward when he was singing to her, and I kind of felt that.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I think it's nice and like a sweet thing to do, but it's hard for it not to be a little awkward the first time it happens.
Because it's new. Like they just started hanging out.
Yeah.
I think I really like her a lot. I don't know if I feel the romance between them necessarily.
Yeah, either do I.
I think that she's someone that may take a little more time to be vulnerable and open up. I know that she told him about her family upbringing, how she was raised by her grandparents, and like in a less traditional household. But I don't feel like she like is super comfortable talking about herself and her life and things that she's been through. I feel like we saw more of like a fun, playful, goofy side of her this date. And I think that as she gets to know him more, the romance might come as she relaxes and opens up. But I also don't know if it will or not. It might not even be that. There might just not really be a romantic connection.
I think she's going to have a tough time on this show.
Really? Why?
Because I think it's hard for her to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think we see so many, and usually those people end up going pretty far. And when they finally have a breakthrough, they get sent home.
I know. Usually
But like,
by the time they get there, it's like too late.
But
or they do it as like a last effort.
Yeah.
Like they feel like they're gonna go home, so they like decide to open up to try to, fight for the relationship, but it's too late.
She, to me, Alex is really like prime candidate for Paradise.
There's so many girls on this season that I'm like, okay, it's probably not you, but like you're gonna be so good for Paradise.
Yeah.
And she's one of them.
Yeah. But either way, the date ends, and it ends well.
Yes, it ends well. They definitely get along great. There's, maybe not the most romantic connection, but there's still a connection there.
She gets a rose.
I think she was also like the best person for the first one-on-one with Grant, because I do think he is a little more chill, can be a little more...
I mean, I still think she's going to be there till the end.
Yeah, she's going to be there for a while. Yeah. But I just think that she's a great pick for the first date because she's so fun, and she can kind of make Grant feel comfortable and just enjoy himself as the Bachelor. It doesn't always have to be so serious, right? Yeah. We're still at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next group date. What did we think? We have Latia, Carolina, Rose, Ella, Bailey, Dina, and Rebecca on this date.
So I will say, I thought this one started out, I was like, this group is more fun. They're way more chill. They just seem like they're here to have a good time.
Yeah, you said that right away. You're like, this group feels less intense, less serious, less competitive.
But the night portion went like opposite of that.
But I think we take it back.
Yeah.
I think we were swayed by the environment that they were put in,
Yeah. But I thought like the date itself, I think like those dates are fun. But the biggest thing in this date was Carolina, like dancing on Grant and then them making out, which there's another thing we always see on this show. Like one person makes out with the lead pretty early in front of the group, and the group, I don't think the groups used to get upset.
I think they've always gotten upset.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, this one's...
At least on The Bachelor, they do.
This group seems to be really upset. I don't think they seem to be really upset at Carolina. I think they're just a little upset at, like, this. I think they are realizing the situation is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I think that with dates like this, the basketball date, you can kind of screw around and you're still going to be fine. You know what I mean? But these dates, you're like, all the eyes are on you for like your little moment. You're getting dressed up. You're putting yourself out of your comfort zone. You're trying really hard to like make him notice you. You're so vulnerable on these dates, like the performance style dates.
So embarrassing.
Yeah, and you're like,
I watch it and just feel I wear their embarrassment. I feel for them.
Yeah, I feel for them too. And it's like you leave those being like, I feel kind of embarrassed. I feel kind of silly. Maybe I had a good time, but like you want that validation that like it wasn't for nothing. So I think it just hurts that much more when someone else gets the rose or the special attention at the end of the date. Whereas the basketball date, I'd be like, yeah, like no shit, I'm not the MVP. Like I literally sucked today and I'm okay with it. Like this isn't my strength. And like I can only put in so much effort here.
Yeah.
So I just think that's where the sensitivity comes from. I also think it's the first time that someone's like making out with him in your face.
Yeah, for the first time you're seeing
My advice for that is like literally don't look. Like look away. Like whenever I watch the girls just like staring at Carolina straddling Grant, I'm like, look away. Like ignorance is bliss. Like you don't have to watch this. Like look at your feet, turn around, anything. Like, you'll feel a lot better. Like, you're just torturing yourself.
Yeah, and then I think all the like the mood at the night portion, Grant's like the mood's off. Carolina makes herself the victim.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by her reaction. I don't know if I've seen that really before.
Well, yeah, because I don't think any of the women were like, "You're a fucking, you suck."
Yeah.
Like, I think they were just like, "This situation sucks." But it didn't seem to me, at least from what we saw, that any of the women were like blaming her for what she did.
Not at all. That's not how I took it either. It seems that's how she took it, obviously, but
I mean, that's how the women were. They were definitely blaming the first group was definitely blaming Zoe. Like, we don't like what you did.
Yes.
And then I think this one was more like, we just don't really love the situation that we're all in, including you, but it's not your fault.
That's how I took it as well. And it seemed to be she wasn't really in tune with the rest of the group because they were talking about how the vibes are down and the vibes are off. And she was like, do you guys think the vibes are off? And it's like, oh, Carolina, you're living in your own little world right now. Like, you're on a high from your dance sesh with Grant and you're not tuning into the fact that, like, it can be really exciting and a happy moment for you. And it can also be disappointing and uncomfortable for the other girls. And, like, both those things can exist at the same time. Them being disappointed, she was like, almost felt like it took away from her. Like, she really flipped it so she felt victimized by their disappointment and unhappiness, despite the fact I really don't think it was meant to be like, you're the problem. I think it's just the reality of the situation they're in, and they're just learning that for the first time in a hard way.
For sure. Yeah, well said. I think we see he has a conversation with Latia that starts off a little wonky, but I think it went pretty well. I think he really likes her. I think she's somebody who is expressing pretty early on that she's there to like find her husband, and I think that's pretty evident.
What did you think of what Grant said to her on night one? Saying, what did he say?
He said, "You're somebody that gets what you want."
I think he said, "You don't get told.
You don't get told no.
You probably don't get told no a lot. You're so beautiful," or something like that.
Yeah, I think Grant meant that to be a major compliment. Like, I don't think it came across like one. I think in his head, he was saying it in a flirtatious tone, in a way of like, you never get told no because you're hot.
Yes.
And that's...
Like, like guys must be all over you. Like, there's no way you, like, anyone's turning you down or rejecting you. Like, he definitely meant it as, like, a pickup line.
He meant it as a pickup line, and I think he meant... Yeah, I think he thought she was going to be flattered, and I think it kind of came out like, you don't ever get told no.
I actually don't know. His delivery was not a 10 out of 10, but I wouldn't say it was a fumble either. I think he just said something that was meant to be passive and light, and it hit a sore spot for her, obviously.
Yeah.
Because she was upset about it. Kudos to her for, like, you know, we're only on week 2. She's spoken to this guy one time. This is like her second conversation, and she's immediately like, hey, you said something that pissed me off last week. Yeah. Like, I don't know if I would have the balls to do that right out of the gate.
And I in Grant's defense, like, I think, like, if Latia's at a bar in New York City, you know, and she walks up to a guy, I would say 9 3/4 out of 10 are, none of them are like
rejecting her.
Yeah, I just really, and I kind of think that's what he meant, and I think she may have taken it as like, in total in my life, like, there's been some really hard things that have happened to me, and I've gotten some hard no's. So for you to say that I'm just like this pretty face who always gets told yes, there's so much more to me than that.
Yeah.
So
I think it was a good opportunity for her.
Kind of a miscommunication.
Miscommunication, or just a miscommunication. I think it was, again, like, just something that he said that was meant to be light that hit a sore spot for her. I also think she seems to be really eager and ready for marriage and kids in this next phase of her life, and she probably is, like, you know, if everyone told me yes, I would have that. And I don't, and it's something I want, and that's something that I struggle with.
Well, she got the group date rose, so
Yes.
she got a yes there.
She got a yes there,
Yeah.
and I think she was the right person to give the group date rose to as well, because she was really vulnerable with him.
Yeah. To make planning the perfect beach vacation easier, Beachbound launched the Perfect Beach Finder quiz. You can search all the destinations for all dates and price points all in one search. The quiz digs into what is important to travelers about their vacation, rendering suggestions based on personal interests. For the traveler that wants to keep all options on the table, the Browse All Beaches tool outlines all destinations available from the predetermined airport in one search. To learn more about Beachbound, visit the website at beachbound.com. So Valentine's Day is coming up. You know everybody's going to be dining out with their soulmate.
Well, not everybody. I mean, it's hard to find your soulmate.
True, but this Valentine's
Day, theperfectgift.net.
Episode of The Unshakables.
A little bit, and
I think she's interested in you. And I think Rose was another one who seemed to struggle during the night portion.
yeah, Rose is having a hard time.
But he kind of like reassures her like I'm really interested in you and I
Yeah.
like you, so chill out.
I loved Rose in episode 1. I feel like she really shined for me, just both coming out of the limo and in her conversation with Grant. She definitely seems to be spiraling a little bit, and
I think she's very overwhelmed, and unfortunately, I think it's getting the best of her, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little hard for her, at least from what we're seeing in episode 2, for her to like make a comeback here.
well, we also see in the promo she's crying, essentially saying she thinks she's going home.
Yes.
So it might have been, a quick spark that fizzled out with the two of them, or she's just really gotten in her head and is kind of her own worst enemy here.
I think she's someone that if she doesn't get a one-on-one date sooner than later,
She won't be able to handle it.
yeah. Who's somebody?
Bailey also is having that problem.
Oh, you know who else was like that? She was on Zach's season.
Oh, Jess, baby
yeah.
Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
The thing with baby Jess, though, is Zach wasn't interested in her.
yeah.
And that's what it was like literally the week before hometowns, and she hadn't gotten a one-on-one date.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it's a little too early to have it be like, I don't think he's into me, but he's reassuring me, but I'm not getting that one-on-one yet.
Yeah.
Jess waited like all season for one
Yeah,
before she was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I think Rose needs to wait till like episode 5 to
She's
be.
got to wait till episode 5. Yeah.
But it's easier said than done. When
100%.
when you're in this situation, like I do forget, like watching it, I'm like, what are they freaking out about? It's like episode 2, like what or it's
I know, but
whatever.
it feels so much longer.
But I
to
forget
them.
how I feel like
It's
like
days. They've been there for like a week at this point.
and not even that, like a couple days in this world feels like a lot because you for the most part you're really just kind of like talking about your past, your feelings, what you want,
and
your
all
future.
you're talking and thinking about is the show
Yeah,
that you're
it's like
on
love.
and love.
It's like all you're thinking
and if
about.
you're gonna get it or not.
Like
but-
when you're in the real world, you're like, what am I going to have for lunch, dinner, like money? Am I going to the gym?
Yeah,
Like
doom scrolling on Instagram.
Yeah, a million different. You got so much going on.
Taxes.
But when you're in Bachelor world, yeah, all that matters is your heart.
Your heart and your time with Grant.
Yeah.
I am worried about Rose. I'm actually, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out next week. I hope that she kind of, I don't want to say like locks it up because like she has every right to be panicked and emotional, but just kind of like relaxes into the process a little bit. If she doesn't, I think that's totally okay. It's incredibly overwhelming. I feel like I can lump Bailey into this too. I think they would both be great in Paradise, and sometimes it just takes a different format and, a little bit of time to prepare to go back into it again and have just, more set expectations of what you're getting yourself into.
I will say yes, and I will say my predictions for the season have definitely changed just after episode 2.
Yeah. Do you want to share?
I will say that I felt like Alex and Zoe were going to be like his top 2.
Yeah.
I don't think that anymore.
Do you have any other names that you feel will replace those two?
Well,
in your final spots.
I felt strongly about Latia, and I still do.
Yeah.
I think her, and it seems like she didn't really nothing major really stood out on the dates. But I would say Juliana, who I was like is giving me Bachelorette vibes, still is kind of giving me those vibes, but also her conversations, her just little conversations with Grant, they seem to really like each other. There seems to be like a real connection.
Yeah.
So I put her up there. But like, she was always up. Both like Latia and her were always up there. But my two front runners were Zoe and Alex, and they are no longer my front runners.
All right. Sorry, Zoe and Alex. If you're listening to this, you're cut.
Whatever, it's fine. Like you're still in the top.
Any thoughts on Bailey's conversation with Grant and how she's doing?
I like Bailey.
I know.
I actually think Bailey's one of the more entertaining people to watch on the show.
She's got a really good personality, yeah. She shines on television.
And she was...
and her being like, no, it's okay, I've been crying all day. I was like, she's so real for that.
Yeah, she's actually, one of my favorite people on this season.
But I think she's going to have a hard time, too.
She's going to have a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to... Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
She's another one that I'm just like, go to paradise.
And unfortunately for Bailey and Rose, I don't know if I see either of those two getting the one-on-one next week, which I feel like is kind of what both of them need.
Yeah.
To feel reassured that, they're not just going through this for nothing.
Yeah. And then before we wrap, any surprises on people not getting roses?
Yeah. Ella. Because we literally see her like snuggling with Grant, and she's reading him this letter that she's written, and it's so sweet. And he's like, oh my gosh, can I keep this? She's like, yeah, of course. He's like laying on her shoulder, just like an abundance of physical affection is happening. And then she's like, I really could see him and I together at the end of this, which I was like, okay, let's...
Too soon for
that. But like, also I get it. You just had a great chat. You're feeling good. You're on a high. And then bam, she's gone. I was like, Grant, you tricked me. I can't imagine how Ella felt.
Yeah.
But other than Ella, we lost Rebecca. We lost Vicky.
Rebecca was the woman that, Rebecca was who he pulled right away to ask about like
the vibes
being off. I feel bad when that person goes.
Me too, because
right
he
away, because
put
you're
her
like,
in a position to like almost kind of like rat on the group.
Yeah, and you're also
her.
saying like you are giving me trustworthy vibes and like
it's basically saying I trust what you have to say, and then he sends her home.
Yeah, it's like
I would feel really confused.
Yeah, I feel it's more. Yeah, I feel bad because it's like it's like saying you have been friend zoned and now you're gone.
Yeah.
But like, I guess honestly though, if he knows like, hey, I actually rather him send home somebody like Ella who's really into him.
Yeah.
And he just knows
she's
like
way ahead
I
of
might
him.
like her, but she's never going to be the one I pick. Send her home.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Because it's so much, even though she was really upset, it's so much easier for her to go home right now than it will be in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, it's going to be way worse. It's going to be so much harder to get over.
I agree with you. I think
But you get less screen time, which sucks.
If he knew after the conversation, like, she's really into me and I like her a lot, but like she's going to fall way harder for me and I'm not going to be able to reciprocate. Rebecca, maybe he did trust her, but he's like, I just feel like she's more of a friend. And that's why he asked her about the group, because he was like, I'm not trying to further this connection. I just want to know what's going on before I chat with some of the other girls.
Yeah, so I guess I guess it was the right move.
Vicky, we didn't see a ton of her this episode. And then Alicia was like all over episode 1.
She was basically the star of episode 1.
She narrated like most of the episode. She looked amazing. We saw her entire conversation with Grant. They kissed. He was like, I really like you and I like your personality and I think you're beautiful. And then not one clip of her in this episode until the end. I was like, this is so confusing. Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah. But yeah, well said. I forgot that she went home because she shouldn't have went. Like, I don't understand how she went home.
Grant's body language is not readable either because he's like snuggling up to the girls that he's cutting.
I can't believe I forget that he cut her. Yeah, what? I don't get that.
I don't know either. I mean, I get it. You have to cut someone. It's just like the way the show's unfolding is leading me astray.
Like after episode 1, she was like, I would have bet big money she was in the top 6.
I would have been like, she's at least making it midway. At bare minimum, she's making it past episode 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, she's gotten so much screen time.
Yeah, but gone.
Well, maybe we'll see her in Paradise. I feel like she would be a good fit. She would be, out of everyone that's gone home so far, she would be the one that I would say they would pull for Paradise as like someone that got sent home early, mainly just because she got so much screen time in the first episode.
Yeah, and I just see a lot of guys
being into her.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to episode 2 recap. That's all we got for you today. Make sure you stay tuned because later this week we're going to be dropping our episode with Zoe.
Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.